All right, everybody. So today we're going to talk about the four categories. There are five categories, but we're going to talk about just four because when you're learning Spanish or English, four categories is really what you need to be, I guess, to be aware of and to understand fully. So I'm going to have something that you can download with this. It'll be just a cheat sheet that you can have in your notebook just to let you know uh, what these things are and as a quick reference. So the first category are called sustantivos or substantives. And as you would guess, these are things of substance. And these can be they can be concrete, they can be ideas, they can be concepts. So these are the things we talk about, or I guess words that describe the things we talk about. All right. Words that describe the things we talk about. Let's see if I can fix this here. There we go. And largely, these are what we call nouns or what we call pronouns. Now, nouns, as you know, as you learn in elementary school, are people, places, things, ideas. So let's give a couple of examples of those. Let's see, car or coche. You could have democracy or democracia. Those are just two examples. Pronouns, you have things like I or yo, tú, nale, or you, or tú, etc. So pronouns, pro literally means for or instead of. So for a noun. So these are little words that we use to replace nouns when we don't want to be redundant or repetitive. So these are substantives. There's actually one more that's not quite as obvious. So in Spanish, we use what we call infinitives. So these are a type of a word called verbals. So infinitivo or infinitive. An example of that would be to swim or nadar es divertido. To swim is fun. In English, that sounds a little awkward, so what we use is called a gerund. So basically, that means using the present progressive or present participle as a noun, in this case, a subject. In Spanish, you don't use the present participle, you use the infinitive. So instead of swimming is fun, they'd say to swim is fun. Nadar es divertido. So swimming would be the example in English. So these are all substantives. All right. Now, atributivos are the second category of words, and these essentially describe. Let's go not bold on that. The words that represent the things we talk about. And these are typically adjectives, obviously, adverbs, and verbs. Now, verbs is the one that's not quite as obvious because it describes a state or an action. So if I say, let's say adjectives describe nouns, an example would be Adán es simpático, or Adam is nice. All right, nice is the adjective that describes Adam. All right, adverbs describe adjectives or verbs. So I could say, Adán es muy simpático. That word muy right here is my adverb because it describes not Adam, but it describes simpático. It gives you the level of niceness. Another one is describing a verb. Adán habla el español bien. So in this case, bien describes habla, describes the verb. All right, and now verbs describe states or actions. Ella piensa que sí. She thinks so. All right, piensa is describing the state that she's in, the state of thinking. Mario camina. Mario is walking. It's describing the action that he's doing. So these are words that describe. These are adjectives, adverbs, verbs, and sometimes participles, which basically serve as adjectives. We'll get into that in a different video. Now, conectivos, these are probably the hardest. And as you would guess it, they connect. So they connect words or ideas. Okay. So there's several different kinds. The first one that I teach my students are prepositions. These are little words like of, from, at, in, on, towards. There's a lot of them. So in español, de, en, a, con would be with, sin, without. So these are words. They not only connect words or ideas, they create relationships between them. Okay. Those are the first kind. Let's scroll down a little bit. The second kind, well, let's give an example first. So if I say, el libro está en la mesa. Now here we have a substantive, libro. We have another substantive, table. So we need basically a relationship between book and table. And in this case, it's going to be a relationship of location, en. Another example would be something along the lines of el libro es de María. The book is Maria's. So here we need a relationship between libro and María. So de is my relationship, and it's a relationship of ownership of Maria. So that's what prepositions do. They create relationships between words, between a noun and something else, or a verb and something else. The next is a conjunction. And these connect ideas, not just words. So for example, I say, Adán habla español y su esposa habla inglés. So there's different, qualities of relationships here. This one is additive or coordinative. So we're adding another idea here by the word and. So that is a conjunction that connects this idea, Adam speaks Spanish, with this idea, his wife speaks English. Two ideas, one sentence, connect them or conjoin them with the conjunction and. So in English, those conjunctions we use the acronym FANBOYS, for, and, nor, but, or, yet. Okay. So conjunction, we'll get into those in a later video. But the last one, well, there's two more. The relative pronouns are connective, and they define a noun, or what we're going to call an antecedent, which is basically a noun that comes earlier, noun or an idea that comes earlier. So an example would be the book that is on the table is Adam's. So you can see the main idea is the book is Adam's. This whole thing here that is on the table is kind of like an interjecting clause that defines which book. That's what a relative pronoun does. The relative pronoun is the word that. That's the most common one in English. En español sería algo así. El libro que está en la mesa es de Adán. So the word que is my relative pronoun. So all this is a lot. So basically what I want you to take away from this video is that there are different kinds of words: substantives, attributives, connectives, and definitives. The last connective and the most important one is called a copula. In English, we call these, what do we call them? Linking verbs. Basically, it's the verb ser, estar, parecer. And we've got pseudo-copulas too, but we're just going to focus on these. To be. And the reason is, it's not describing a state, it's identifying, it's giving identity to the subject. So if I say Adam is a teacher, Adán es maestro, basically this word here, es, is an equal sign because maestro and Adán point to the same entity. As opposed to Adán habla español, español is a different entity than Adán. So here, the word es is the most important word because it describes reality. It describes what things are in the world we live in. So that links maestro with Adán. It equates teacher with Adam. So that is what we call a copula. Okay, so those are connectives. And the definitives, these are basically just words that point to our nouns. All right, pointing, qualifying, or quantifying words. In this case, these are going to be articles like el, la, los, or las, which basically means the, or una, unos, unas, which means the, or some. A, an, or some. And then we have also like possessive adjectives, like my or mi, your, or tú, with no accent, or tus. Okay, there's a lot of these. We're not going to go too much into these, but these are the four most important categories of words: sustantivos, atributivos, conectivos, definitivos. So the whole point here is, if you're learning English or if you're learning Spanish and you don't understand what the words are, knowing these functions of words can help you learn, or at least get the gist of what's happening. So if I say, my neighbor lives in a big house. Mi vecino vive en una casa grande. All right, so here, let's talk about the substantives. Those are the most important thing because those are who we're talking about or what we're talking about. So the things in the sentence are neighbor, so we're going to make that blue, and house. In this case, vecino and casa. Now, the second most important word is the verb because that's what gives life to the sentence. So that's usually almost It's almost always right after the subject, which is the first thing in the sentence in simple vocab. So here we go. We're going to make that green. We're going to make that green. My neighbor lives in a big house. Now, the rest of the words are basically either connectors or pointers or descriptors. So basically, I have a relationship between house, lives, and neighbor. So a pointing word, mi vecino, the word mi points to neighbor. The word my points to neighbor. All right, now a is the word that points to house. Which house? A house. Una casa. Now we've got two more words in each sentence. So what do these words do? So house has a relationship with lives. And the word that connects those two is the word en. And that's going to be my conectivo. En. Now grande, basically that's just a modifier or a descriptor that describes house. So that's how. So if you don't know what most of these words mean, the important one are the blue, the green. And those are the important ones. Second most important would be the orange words. Okay? So mi vecino vive en una casa grande. My neighbor lives in a good house. If this is helpful, I have basically a lot of practice activities that you can do. If you care to download them, check out the link in the description below.